The Ottoman Empire was one of the longest-lasting and most influential empires in world history, enduring from around 1299 to 1922. Its rich and complex history spans over 6 centuries, covering a vast region that extended across Europe, Asia, and Africa at its height. The empire played a crucial role in the development of global trade, culture, religion, and politics, leaving a profound impact that can still be observed in modern times. Origins and rise. The Ottoman Empire's origins lie in the Anatolian Peninsula, where a group of Turkic-speaking nomads, known as the Oghuz Turks, migrated from Central Asia into the region. The empire was founded by Osman I, from whom the name Ottoman is derived, in the late 13th century. The early Ottomans were a small but determined principality, part of a wider group of Turkish states that emerged following the fragmentation of the Seljuk Empire. The Ottomans benefited greatly from their strategic location, sandwiched between the weakening Byzantine Empire and the unstable regions of the Islamic world to the east. Through skilled military leadership, diplomacy, and the adoption of advanced technology, they expanded their control across much of Anatolia and the Balkans. By the 14th century, the empire was already making inroads into southeastern Europe, and in 1453, under the leadership of Sultan Mehmed II, also known as Mehmed the Conqueror, the Ottomans captured Constantinople. This marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and established the Ottoman Empire as a major power. Constantinople, renamed Istanbul, became the capital of the empire, and its capture symbolized the Ottomans' ascendancy as a global force. The Golden Age. The period following the conquest of Constantinople is often referred to as the Golden Age of the Ottoman Empire. During this time, the empire reached its territorial peak, military might, and cultural heights. Sultans like Suleiman the Magnificent, who ruled from 1520 to 1566, oversaw vast territorial expansions, extending Ottoman control to North Africa, the Middle East, and much of southeastern Europe. Suleiman is particularly remembered for his legal reforms, which earned him the title the lawgiver in the Muslim world. His administrative and legal innovations helped stabilize the empire and foster an efficient and centralized governance system. His reign also saw the flourishing of arts, culture, and architecture. The famed Ottoman architect Mimar Sinan, who served under Suleiman and subsequent sultans, designed some of the most iconic structures of the empire, including the Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul. The military strength of the Ottomans during this period was formidable. Their army was bolstered by the elite Janissaries, who were soldiers recruited through the Devshirme system, a system where Christian boys from the Balkans were taken, converted to Islam, and trained to serve the state. The Ottoman navy was also a dominant force, controlling vast swathes of the Mediterranean Sea, which was vital for trade and military campaigns. The empire's ability to manage a diverse population that included Muslims, Christians, and Jews was another cornerstone of its success. The Ottomans employed a system known as the millet system, which allowed religious and ethnic communities a degree of autonomy under their own leaders, as long as they paid taxes and remained loyal to the empire. This system helped maintain relative peace in a multi-ethnic, multi-religious empire. Decline and stagnation. Despite its military successes, the Ottoman Empire began to experience signs of decline in the 17th century. Historians often point to several internal and external factors that contributed to this. Internally, the empire faced challenges in maintaining efficient governance over its vast territories. The system of succession, which often led to power struggles among the ruling elite, contributed to political instability. The Devshirme system, once an asset, began to break down, leading to corruption and inefficiencies in the military and administration. Externally, the empire faced increasing pressure from European powers, particularly the Habsburgs, the Venetians, and the Russians. The Ottoman defeat in the Great Turkish War, which lasted from 1683 to 1699, marked a turning point in its military fortunes. The unsuccessful siege of Vienna in 1683 was a critical event. By the Treaty of Karlowitz in 1699, the empire was forced to cede significant territories in Hungary, Croatia, and Transylvania to Austria. Economically, the Ottoman Empire was also affected by the rise of new global trade routes. The discovery of the Americas and the establishment of direct sea routes to India by European powers like Portugal and Spain diminished the importance of the traditional overland trade routes controlled by the Ottomans. This led to a relative economic decline, as the empire became increasingly dependent on European goods and technology. Reform and modernization. By the late 18th century, it was clear that the empire needed to reform if it was to survive in an increasingly competitive world. The 19th century saw a series of modernization efforts known as the Tanzimat reforms, initiated by Sultan Mahmud II and continued by his successors. These reforms aimed to centralize power, modernize the military, and bring the empire's institutions more in line with European models. One of the most significant changes during this period was the abolition of the Janissary Corps in 1826. Once the backbone of the Ottoman military, the Janissaries had become a politically powerful and conservative force that resisted change. Their abolition allowed for the creation of a more modern, European-style army. The Tanzimat reforms also sought to modernize the legal and educational systems and to improve infrastructure. New roads, telegraph lines, and railways were built, and the empire began to adopt Western-style legal codes. However, these reforms were met with resistance from conservative factions within the empire, particularly religious leaders and provincial elites, who feared that Westernization would undermine Islamic values. The fall of the Ottoman Empire. Despite the efforts at reform, the Ottoman Empire continued to weaken during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The empire became known as the sick man of Europe as it lost control of many of its territories. The Balkan Wars of 1912 and 1913 saw the loss of almost all of the empire's European holdings, while rebellions in the Arab provinces further eroded Ottoman control. World War I dealt the final blow to the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans sided with the Central Powers, and their defeat in 1918 led to the partitioning of the empire. Under the terms of the Treaty of Sèvres in 1920, the empire was effectively dismantled, with its remaining territories divided among the Allied powers. The Turkish War of Independence, which lasted from 1919 to 1923, led by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, resulted in the establishment of the Republic of Turkey in 1923. The Ottoman Sultanate was formally abolished in 1922, bringing an end to over 600 years of Ottoman rule. Legacy. The legacy of the Ottoman Empire is vast and complex. Its influence on architecture, language, and culture can still be seen across the Middle East, North Africa, and Southeastern Europe. The empire's system of governance, particularly the millet system, influenced how multi-ethnic empires and states managed diversity in the centuries that followed. Culturally, the empire was a melting pot of different traditions, blending Islamic, Byzantine, Persian, and even European influences in art, architecture, and literature. The Ottomans also played a key role in preserving Islamic scholarship, which, in turn, contributed to the European Renaissance by transmitting classical Greek and Roman texts that had been preserved by Muslim scholars. In conclusion, the Ottoman Empire was a powerful, multi-ethnic state that shaped the history of the Middle East and Europe for centuries. Despite its eventual decline, its legacy continues to influence modern politics, culture, and society across the regions it once ruled.